Hey, mighty peeps! It's Thursday, right? It's Thursday, Erica,
It
yes?
is Thursday,
It
yes.
is Thursday, and I have with me a special guest. I have Erica Grant of Moms on the Grow, and I'm also going to make sure that I put Erica's website in the chat and in the comments
Uh,
for you. I know I sent it out and I linked to it when I posted, but we're really excited. And in fact, we were so excited that we started talking before I hit live, and I'm like, wait, save the good topics and the good thoughts. Um,
yes.
so what are the questions, the questions and the things that kept come up because we're both geeky brains and we like our
Mhm.
tools and we like our software. And what we were both just talking about is that there's no one right way to do this and there's no one right tool. Yes, I'm talking about how much I love Trello and I really want you to dive in with me on Trello next week for the next 10 days. But Eric and I have both played with a lot of other software over the years. And I've got my eye on this other bright shiny object, and Erica's make sure that I don't touch it this month.
Focus.
Focus, focus. I gotta focus.
hmm
So, and that's one of the things. So, a question first to you, Erica. I know we've tried different tools. What have you tried in planning for your business? Because I know your business has evolved over the years. You have a full time
Yes.
gig. You have your side hustle business. What are the different things you've tried in terms of planning?
The I tried everything. If it's out there, I've tried it. The one to do is Wanderlist when it was a thing. The
Hmm.
one thing, Toodle Do,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if you remember that. It's still there, but the interface is still like 2010ish, so it's not worth it. But the one I got stuck on for years, it was the To Do app. To Do app, it was it was a Mac only app, but it worked on Android phones. So I was a Mac user who had an Android phone at that time. So it was perfect for me, but it was more task oriented,
Right.
and I stayed there for years. But I never thought of life as projects. I just thought of it as like
Mm.
buckets of tasks. Then this is a truth moment. I went to you and Val Selby had a Trello call,
Yeah.
maybe not this fall, the fall before, and I just jumped on to support you guys. And I was like, wow, let me look at a different way of organizing how I plan stuff instead of all these different buckets of tasks. Tasks for my job, tasks for my business, tasks for my house, tasks. There's five categories. Oh, the church,
Yep.
and then um, there's just task buckets. Oh, a nonprofit that I work with. Those are the five buckets, and so I went to look at Trello, and that's where I started saying, wait, there's so much more to this than just tasks. You can actually manage things as projects and then put the task in there, or keep
Mhm.
tasks separate. So that's when I started to look around. So I dropped To Do app after about 7 years, and
Wow.
and then
It's a big
bounced
change.
around.
Can I just tell you that I have an app that had been on my phone? It was my grocery app, and it all of a sudden stopped working this winter, and it upended my life to lose that.
Which app was it?
I use Grocery IQ.
Okay.
And then, of course, on a separate side note, that then sent me off chasing after and reviewing every other grocery store app. And people are asking me, well, why aren't you just using Trello for that? I'm like, well, I could,
Mhm.
but I wanted the actual products and the
And
brand
the
names. But
little picture icons.
and because if I have to send it to my husband, I'm like, no, I want you to get the Thomas's English muffins and this bread and not just
Mhm.
anyway. So that's just it. That's why we're using multiple tools, right? Because there wasn't, I can't make Trello do everything. So I guess the
No.
question is for you: when you dropped to do and you were exploring Trello for a little while, what came next?
Well, I after seeing Trello and really looking at the Kanban, is that how you say it? Kanban
Yeah.
boards, the boards. I was really intrigued, and another friend has sent me a link to shared a link to her editorial calendar through Airtable, and Airtable has different views. So you can look at your projects as Kanban like Trello, or you could put them in a list, or you could put them in a spreadsheet similar to like an Excel. And I was really intrigued because I work with Excel all day long and in databases all day long that I went with Airtable over Trello just because I could see it differently because the way my brain works. And that's where I said I would do Trello. And I did Trello until, not Trello, Airtable for just a
Cool.
short period of time, maybe about 6 months. But I still have stuff in it because it's an amazing database. You can really connect things to each other. Like you can do a lot of cool things. And then I found where I landed at ClickUp. So ClickUp for me, because I have these five major buckets, it's project management and it's task management. And
So I just put it up on the screen. I don't know if you
yeah,
can see that.
it
Um,
it works really well for me because I can go to my different buckets. It has the different views like Airtable, but I usually use it in the card Kanban style, similar to Trello, um,
oh,
for
yep, I
most
see.
things.
Okay, got
hmm
it.
For most things, but sometimes you want to see
Um,
things. And what's really the reason I also did that, like if I have a project that has statuses. Let's say I'm writing a blog post. This is a good one, and it's in the brainstorming stage, and then I move it to the next Kanban because I started to write it, and then it needs to be edited, then it needs to have pictures, and needs to post. But I could also decide to sort all my blog posts by clicking something and sort them all by change the Kanban boards to the category of post it is. So all the boards switch around, and it's really like nice to see data in different ways, and that kind of makes me weirdly happy because I I have
that's
a
what
big
we geek out together about that because I get that. I totally get that.
I have a tote bag that says I love data. That's I just so that's why I ended up there. But the Kanban really intrigued me, and that's what made me start looking for something different than just task lists or something like that.
And so one of the things that I know I'm going to talk about when I do the videos that I'm going to record for, there's going to be five little short videos and training during the Trello challenge that you can watch on your own time that explain some of the nuances in getting and using it. And then I'm having the coaching calls and the group time during the challenge. But one of those is explaining, okay, what on earth are we talking about in terms of Kanban? Because when Trello was created and a lot of these other project management tools, and I'm actually going to say it's Kanban, and it came out of a lot of the agile software, Lean. If you've heard of Lean Six Sigma and Japanese productivity and manufacturing, think like Toyota and stuff, and the folks that figure out how we were going to do this super, super efficiently. And the idea is what you've got these cards, and that things go on a left to right workflow, and why so much of it was when it was project and you're thinking about a project, and that projects have stages from the idea phase and the brainstorming phase to what is in progress, what needs to be done, what is being done, and what is completed or done. And the notion was that you move things from left to right to show, and that your team does, so that
Mhm.
as a team is working on something, and it could be as solopreneurs, that's a VA, that's our partner, it's our business partner. If it's you're using something for vacation planning at home, or your nonprofit is doing it, they're moving stuff left to right to show
Mhm.
that they've completed a task, that they wrote the blog post, somebody edited the blog post, somebody added the graphics to the blog post, somebody hit publish. And the notion that you can drag and drop that stuff to show progress, really interesting now that other tools are picking up on that, and that was something that intrigued you, that we're seeing now in something like ClickUp. um, and I love that you talked about how when we first did the first Trello training, that it opened the notion to thinking in terms of buckets
Yes.
and projects.
Mhm.
And I will say that that was one of the bigger changes that Trello made without, as far as I can tell, really announcing it, um, in 2020, was that everything now starts at the team or the workspace level.
Right.
You can still have a ton of boards.
Mhm.
I think for solopreneurs, we think of them as workspaces or buckets. And I love the
Mhm.
notion that you brought up as buckets. So for your example in particular, you'd have a bucket, as you said, for nonprofits,
Mhm.
for your church or your volunteer work, for home, and then for business. So if I
And
was
for
doing,
work.
and for work.
Mhm.
So if I was doing that in Trello, and my Trello is now starting to reflect that, I have my team or my workspace for my nonprofit. I
Mhm.
have my team or workspace for business number one, the consulting and the training businesses for the nonprofits and the library peeps, the training or workspace for number two, which is Mighty Marketing Mojo. And then, yes, if I were going to use it personally, I would probably have, I think I have a personal area
Mhm.
as well. So it's interesting that you saw that. And did you use the same buckets in Airtable and then now in ClickUp as well?
Yes, I actually had tags in the to do app, so it was very clear when I started putting them in the buckets and then made like projects within the buckets. And then I just thought about something. When I have my biggest project for my job every year is due December 1st. And I would go and get these little post-its every year and put all the different tasks on them and put them all on the left side of the cabinet. And as each piece was moved, I literally would take the post-it and move them across. And that was natural. That was the way my brain was
Yeah.
seeing the project management. But I never thought, oh, maybe I should find a tool that does actually move these post-its instead of me going every year writing out one for each piece and moving them across. And then the goal was to get all the posters from one side of the board to the
Mhm.
other. So it's a natural way that your brain works. I just didn't think of a tool for that until I was exposed to that.
And somebody else, when I've given the training, mentioned the same thing that Trello and they loved the notion that they could literally grab it on the screen and drag it and
Hmm.
drop it like a virtual post-it note. I
Yes.
Eric and I've joked, and we've had many other calls. Folks, I haven't gotten rid of the post-it notes; they still exist. Yeah, but they don't stay stuck to my desk quite so long. They don't stay. There are not post-it notes hanging across the bottom of my computer monitor right now. I'm gonna bet that Erica probably still has some post-it notes hanging across the bottom of her computer monitor right now. But that's only because I'm cleaning up in anticipation of the challenge. Um, and I think the good, the really interesting thing talking all about this is, like I said, there's no one right way to do this. And yes, I'm trying not to go and look and get caught up in looking at ClickUp. I love that right there in the app it says the one app to replace them all. I'm like ambitious. I like
Hmm.
that. I like that. But the more I've heard people talk, I'm like it's intriguing. It's intriguing to me, but it's also intriguing because it's copying. It looks like, or and sounds like from what you're saying, Erica, that it's copying a lot of the things that both of us have liked about other tools.
That's exactly what it is. And they recently, maybe 2 months ago, added a docs feature.
Mm.
So they're trying to do things similar to an Evernote where you can actually put your docs in there and the docs can still connect to your task or to your boards. They're actually called Task and ClickUp. And the goal is really to be one app for all. And sometimes that makes me a little bit suspicious. Can't you just be good at one or two things? But the idea of not having to click around, I don't mind not having certain things as long as if everything's in one app. And I keep it up on one of my screens all day long and I just, do it like that. So it works for me for now. And that's what the goal is.
And
So
that's a really good point in that each of us has somebody else has asked me about the test. Why do I keep testing different tools? I'm like, well, part of me's looking for the holy grail, the one ring to rule them all, the one app, and I don't know, maybe we're getting closer. This one says it's going to replace them all, but we also know that there are trade-offs,
mhm.
and that certain tools fit certain brains better. So
Right.
Erica's a data nerd. Erica
Mhm.
wants to see the numbers. It's like Erica would talk to me about Airtable, and I'm like, oh, the word database. I mean, the word database shouldn't scare a librarian, but it did.
Yeah.
And yet it intrigued me because of that relational quality. Somebody else's brain is going to work in a different way, and they need to see things laid out differently,
Mhm.
which is one of the reasons why I like the tools that have the flexibility so that it can adapt. Um, Years ago, I think like 2014, before I'd found Trello, there was a set of tools. Zoho still exists, and Zoho was attempting, I think, to be the one tool that did it all, except they realized that they had actually separate tools. There was like 10 separate Zoho products that
Oh.
covered everything. But that was the problem. Each one was a separate product under, you'd log into Zoho, but then use Zoho projects and Zoho CRM and Zoho email and Zoho invoice tracking. And I'm like, but they weren't well connected. But that was 2014. I don't know if either of us would have imagined ClickUp existing as an option even 18 months ago.
No, and even the first time I heard of ClickUp, I looked at it and it looked very intimidating because it had this all app thing. It looked like it had all these fancy colors and I had seen it before, but it was overwhelming. And remember, it was Trello that made me start looking, and Trello's so simple, and so it was too much. But after deciding on Airtable and saying, but I'm missing this, missing that, and it made me come back out and look again, and ClickUp came back up because it does have what both of them have. Um, it is the learning curve is steep, but but once you figure it out, it's really it's it has a much steeper learning curve than a Trello. It does.
Which is another reason why, I'm aware I've checked out Asana. I think I still have an account in Asana. I still have an account in Workflow. I have an account in Teamwork. It's like, if I want Gantt charts or something like that, people are like, what? Checking for different things and different tools do different things better. Different tools are also, let's face it, they're geared more toward teams. They're geared toward
Mhm.
enterprises and larger businesses.
They are.
Um, Talking about that, the feature trade-off, and so for example, you really liked the notion that you could go switch back and forth from that relational style and sorting information by a category versus when it was going to be due. Maybe somebody else wants to sort everything else by due dates.
Mhm.
Colors a big one for me, but you touched on it. It's got to be something that you can get into and that's easy enough to use. This is the same for any software, folks, whether it's
Right.
your email marketing system, your website, whatever you're using to create landing pages. If it's too tough to learn and the learning curve is taking too long, then you're not using it.
Right.
Then it's not helping us. Um, for you, you've decided, it was worth that learning curve, but then again, was your learning curve shortened because you'd already played with Trello and you'd already done Airtable?
Yes, because I had the flow from Trello, and then I understood the changing of views from Airtable. So I could go from the Kanban to the list to a calendar views, whatever different. So I understood that. So when I would see something, I knew what was going to happen because I was in a research phase. Like I was looking for something. So I was learning about different tools, and these were the ones that made the final. But I looked at tons of them. Of course, I got distracted and went down the project manager management software rabbit hole for probably a month or two, because
Yeah.
I do that. Probably only me, right? But
No.
um, but one of the things though, when you pick a tool, like let's say you decide to go with a ClickUp, a Airtable, Asana, Trello, whatever you decide to, I think it's important that you commit yourself to using it. Like you commit to every day opening it up, and every day, at least at the end of the day, even if you're using paper and pen during the day, at the end of the day, updating your boards or updating your tasks, just commit to that. So when you get in the habit of it, when I told Jennifer, I get in the bed. There's things I do. I read old emails that I have like flagged to read later, and then I go in and make sure my tasks are updated because sometimes I might have forgot to move something. Just so it's a habit, and once
Yes.
you get in the habit of using whatever software you commit to, it becomes natural. I could get on the computer every day. I open up my email and I open up ClickUp. They're both right here. Not that
And I
you can
think
see it, but
absolutely. And honestly, besides needing to make my own habits reinforced, let's face
mhm,
it, that's why I created the challenge. This is much for me and my friends to get us into a good habit and to
mhm,
do it at the beginning of the year. Um, that I still think, I'm hella intrigued. I'll reading it right now about ClickUp.
Mhm.
But I think because of the ease of getting started with Trello and even what you said, to be able to start thinking about projects and
Mhm.
buckets and not just I've got the three things I've got to do today here on here and I'm focused on getting my three things done today. But what's the big picture? If you're working on a project and you're going to launch a new course, a new workshop, a membership, you're writing a book, you're writing an ebook that you're collaborating on something. Erica planned her summit. Her whole focus in the fall was on her summit, but there were lots of pieces that went with the summit. There's pieces to have even me putting together a 10-day challenge and to start being able to think about projects and then the tasks underneath it. I think it's really helpful to have a tool that helps us think that way in business. I mean, I don't know about you. Was it helpful when you were doing the summit to be able to think about the project, all the pieces that were related? Because now you can do it again.
So not only was it helpful, I was sold on it once I did the summit because I had the task, I had subtasks, I had everything with due dates, and I would just move things around. And then I saved it as a template, put
Mm,
it in there, and then now next year, for this year actually, when I do the summit, I'll pull it out. It'll automatically remap the due dates that are in there, and then I can go ahead and it's really cool. Like I had forms that I had people speakers fill out, and the speakers would fill them out, and then it would automatically populate and click up their information. Like it was, I got sold on that through the summit because it has so many integrations. But really, it was a lot, but it was worth it. It really was worth it. So, um, yes. Now that I know, and having a project and being able to think through it step by step. And here's something else that I think is a good tip: is once you finish the project, go back, go through it, see what pieces you might have added,
mm.
seriously reflect and put those pieces back in. So when you go back and do a similar project, you have it all and it's fresh. So I think that's a good thing.
And then we joked about, I think I joked in an email about, do you put stuff on your to-do list just so you can cross it off? But if you did something for a project, if you added a step for a webinar or a summit
Mhm.
or promoting something or repurposing something, absolutely go back, like Erica is saying, and add that into that project and those tasks lists so that you don't forget it. So that when you do the next similar one of those things, it makes it easier. You've got all your steps remembered for you. You're not likely to skip or forget something.
And do it while
And
it's fresh.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that whatever tool you're looking for, and that's one reason, the challenge is 10 days to get us into the habit. The
Right.
challenge, and I'd use, and by the time you're done with the challenge for the kick your business, here, how about if I showed the banner with the challenge? That would be good, Jennifer. That we're going to focus on, you're going to have at least two boards in Trello. And
Mhm.
they're either new boards because you're starting fresh in Trello, or if you've already used Trello, we're going to modify, clean up your existing, but there's two. One is the project management Kanban style, left to right. How to think about what you're doing now, what you want to do next, what you're going to do in the future, your priorities, and that could even be, what course are you taking, what vacation are you planning, what are you doing next versus what are you doing now. The other, and I'm going to talk about this more in my video tomorrow, it surprised me that over the last 24 months, the board I go into and use most often in Trello, that is fitting my brain best right now, none of the lists move. Most of the cards don't move. I might copy a card from this board to something else, but it's what I call it's what's a reference board. It's a library board. Things just keep getting added to it and eventually maybe archived, but it's become the repository, and then the ideas get acted on in a different board. And one reason is because if I had tried to keep everything from both each individual email idea and each Facebook video idea and each affiliate link in my to do board, it would have gotten massively out of control. I wouldn't have known what on earth I was focusing on and working on. So that's at least for me, but that's just it. I'm saying these are examples of how you can do it. I'm going to have other guests in during the challenge because they're using it differently. Just like, Erica has melded the best features that she's learned from several different tools into what you're doing right now.
The game changer for me that I learned from you, and I will always give you credit for this, was the board that you're talking about. It's like a dumping board, and instead of thinking of things as moving, they're just lists. This is a list of courses that I want to create. This is a list of I actually had it written down so I could tell you what I have on there. Um, Different softwares I have, a brain dump that I have, and it doesn't. It's just a list, and then you can go into the individual card and put little details as you think through, or that you want links that you want to go back to, affiliate links are in there. Like when I saw you do that, you know how the mind blown emoji? Yeah, that's what happened. I, I was eh, that was my because I after seeing the boards move, that's the only way I could see it. And then when you show that, oh no, you can use it for something different. I was like, so thank you, thank you.
Always, always. And
Hmm.
and I appreciate, and that's why when Erica and I were talking about this, she's like, I'm using a different tool now. I'm like, no, that's cool. Because some of the same things that I've taught over the last few years, they apply no matter what tool you end up sticking with and committing with. Maybe you stick with Trello after the end of the 10-day challenge, after the end of the month of February, when you've given something a shot, give it a try, stick with something for a month or longer. Like Erica said about, committing to something, you got to give it enough time to know what you're doing and to know if it's working and to be consistently using it. It's why I left Asana. It didn't fit me. It didn't work. I gave it a try, but you know what? Did I give it enough? Did I spend enough time in that tool? No, probably not. But because I have consistently used Trello, even if not necessarily every day, since 2014, and because it's easy, it's why I'm going to come back to it. Because if it's something that you keep using, then it's going to keep helping you in your business. You know, um, they make changes. It adapts. All of these tools adapt.
Yes.
Everything's going to change. Change is the one consistent. Um, we go. So, Fran says she's going to go and she's going to dig into Trello again. I hope you will with me. I know you have the Trello tips guide for anybody who doesn't have that. I have to make sure it's updated to talk about teams and workspaces. Um, but I think the main thing and one of the other parts of the challenge is getting to use Trello, but it's also about getting into that notion of planning
Right.
and getting the ideas out of your head and getting the stuff off of your desk and getting those things into some place where you're not going to lose them and then sorting them out and doing priorities. So there's a question I suppose is how are the tools you're using now? How is ClickUp helping you to sort through priorities for like what's coming next and the different buckets that you have?
So I one of the things I do is I have a tag, a star tag. I just call it a star tag, and I tag the tasks, the individual tasks that are way down what I need to do the next day. And then I have a board view that just shows where they are in a process. Are they next, in process, need follow up, or completed? So that's all I look at on a daily basis, or the things that I have to do every day. And then I just move those across the board. And it's usually no more than 10 things. And that's from all the buckets. That could be from having to clean up the kitchen to editing a blog post. Like, it's not a lot of stuff, but that's the only board that I look at consistently all day long. There's one of my favorite quotes. It says that your brain is meant to be a factory, not a warehouse. I wish I could remember the guy who said that. So we try to keep all this stuff. We can't like get caught up in remembering stuff. We need to get a warehouse, and our warehouse will be wherever we put all our ideas, our thoughts, our tasks is our warehouse, and our brain can just free it up just to do the work. And that's that's what it. That, when
There
you
was
were
a
saying it,
related, one of my, I don't know, one of my cognitive psych courses or something like talked about how our brain has working memory, like your computer has the working memory and the RAM where we store things.
yeah, that's a good one too.
And it was something like seven. Like 7
Mhm.
is the max number of things you can be actively thinking on and juggling, and beyond that, you're just going to go and
Mhm.
there's the brain exploding in a not good way emoji. And let's face it, Erica has 5 buckets. She's only got 2 things left she can possibly. So if Erica is trying to keep in mind right now something for work, something for moms on the go, something at home, something for the church, something for the. Okay, now we haven't left room for what is Erica reading right now. It
Right.
literally, there wasn't room, but
Mhm.
if she can offload some of those things and not have to actively be thinking about them because they're on Trello or they're in ClickUp, well, then you just freed up brain space.
Right. And I don't
Maybe
touch
you
every bucket every day. I would go
also
crazy if
true.
I had to touch every bucket every day. That doesn't even make sense. I have an 11-year-old daughter. She needs a little attention. You know what I mean? So I don't
She's
feel
a big
guilty
bucket.
for that. She should be a whole bucket herself. But
Then
yeah,
there's a bucket.
yeah. So we just have to you just have to be fair to yourself. But as long as you get it all out, plan it the way that makes you feel comfortable, and use whatever tool. Be committed to that tool. You know. So.
There's an example I know when Val and I did the first workshop, and we were both excited that, she told me she has personal Trello boards and she used them for vacation planning and gift planning. And it's like her daughter was on the board or someone was on, so that if the family had ideas of getting together and sharing, um, both for vacations and for gifts, because that was something that made sense. It made sense for them to do that. And it was like, well, we could share a Google Calendar, but this isn't a calendar sort of thing. So that doesn't really work, but sharing the board made sense. I know families that share for meal planning,
Mhm.
and it's a cross between, it's one board, but it's got like the weekly menu of like, here's what we're having. So there's a little bit of the to do aspect, but the rest of the lists are like categories, like from a
Mhm.
cookbook: salads, vegetables, pastas, meat, chicken, poultry, fish. And they can literally just drag and like, okay, I think this week we're gonna take shrimp scampi and this grain salad, and we're gonna do candied carrots. And you know, if that's something that you need for your family to handle that bucket, so you're not trying to juggle that all in your head, then find the tool that lets you do that so that your brain space is cleared up to do something else.
Mhm. Exactly.
And I just, so that's the one thing is that, look, while as much as I'm a Trello fan, I will absolutely sit here and tell you where I think it's not as great and where other shiny objects catch my attention. But I go back to it and I use it in the ways that I know it helps me the most. So for right now, my daily planning is probably fantastical. That's my calendar app. That's going to tell me the things that are absolutely most critical. Trello is going to tell me, okay, here's my projects, here's the steps, and here's all the stuff you don't want to have to forget. Here's the affiliate link for Canva so you can easily drop that in the email that I sent,
Mhm.
today. Here's the link for if somebody wants to book and get on my calendar. I'll also tell you folks, if make sure that it's got a really good mobile app. um there'll be times where I'm on a Zoom call or I'm someplace else and I want to be able to grab a link for something. I want to be able to send somebody something. And the fact that I can flip between Trello and Facebook Messenger or Trello and Gmail and drop in and send links to clients, to prospects, to colleagues, to people that I'm working with so quickly is crucial. Um, and I don't think any day I doubt right now there's any of these major software that aren't good on mobile, but some might be better than others.
Trello is beautiful too. I mean the mobile app is beautiful. It moves. It's very responsive. Like it's sometimes let's just be sometimes you just want something to look nice. You know what I mean? Like you don't necessarily want stuff to look like an Excel spreadsheet,
Mm,
and so that the colors are nice, but not just the colors, just the way you can move the cars while you're actually on the app are really nice.
yeah. In fact, exactly. It's got the same backgrounds. It
Mhm.
mirrors my web
Mhm.
browser experience. So Fran has a question. Do you put my all of my affiliate links in Trello or just the people you were an affiliate for? So on my website, I use a piece of software called Pretty Links. Pretty Links takes what can often be really weird, garbled looking code for a referral link or an affiliate link, and then it makes it mightymarketingmojo.com/Canva. So I have a list in Trello in my main content library that has each card is a separate product, workshop, course, coach, content person that I have any relationship with, that I refer. In fact, in some places it has the link, even though there is no official. There was a link for mightymarketingmojo.com/Canva. Canva didn't have a referral program until about 15, 16 months ago, but it was still there. So everything is there. So in other words, there's one there for Kelly McCausey at Love People and Make Money, and all of the different products are underneath there. So I can go in and grab my link for the Dare You to Email Challenge, for the Stretch Yourself Challenge. I can go grab a link from Pam Hamilton's Business Profit Equation Summit. The reason I have them all in Trello is because it's a pain in my butt when I'm on mobile to open up my own WordPress dashboard, to go to Pretty Link, to get the link. So having them all in Trello means it's really easy to copy that link. And I used to use a Word document for that. Well, then I had to go and I have to update the Word document and save the Word document. And where was the Word document? What if I'm on my phone? The same reason why I didn't keep them in a spreadsheet anymore. And so that's why I started keeping them in Trello. I also keep a separate list. They're tools that I might want to recommend. Maybe there's no affiliate program for them, and that's okay. But it's a really cool tool, or it's a really cool program, or course, or coach, or person, or podcast that I want to have, that I want to recommend. So yes, those are lists and then cards inside of Trello. So
Game
I'm
changer.
curious, how do you organize, or do you keep things like referral or partner or affiliate links, Erica?
Now,
Mhm.
very
I mean, Lance, after this call.
no, like since you this was just recently, like within the last couple months, you must have did like a Trello
Yeah.
workshop or something, and I'm like, I'm going to support my friend and just go, but I don't use Trello, and you did that. I was like, what? I have them. It's not set up on a card, but it's set up in a task, like,
Yeah.
and it has each one with it. Looks exactly what it's the same way. It looks the same way,
Yeah.
but I can just switch the view so it looks more like a spreadsheet if I need it, or it looks like a card if I need it. But yeah, and I just mentally went through logging into WordPress on my phone, scrolling down the pretty links, clicking on pretty, trying to get a link. And like, that's what I thought was the norm until you showed me that.
It was a pain in the butt.
Yeah. So yeah, now because yeah, that was mind changing.
Yeah.
That
Um,
really was.
and I also started doing it. I've got a separate list. It's offers. So, folks, how many times, you should have multiple offers, multiple ways for people to work with you, whether it's a workshop you offer, an ebook you offer, your free gifts that you offer, people to get on your email list, your one-on-one coaching services, your summit links, your summit recording links. And sometimes it's a pain in the butt to go to our own websites to find our own sales pages and our own landing pages. I especially because I have certain things that are hidden on my website. So I can't go to my website and search for the Trello challenge participants page. It's
Mhm.
protected. It isn't going to show up. However, if I've copied that link and I put it on the card for the Trello challenge, how meta, inside of Trello, then it makes it a whole lot easier for me to, again, cut and paste, copy and paste, because Trello is just one of the tabs that's open, or it's on my phone and somebody wants, to drop it in as a comment to this video, we
Mhm.
can do that. So,
I actually have a list in there too of sites I want to watch. That's what it's called.
mhm.
And it's people who have similar niches as I do. And I have on the card like their name, their background, what they specialize in, their links to their websites and things like that. Because sometimes I'm like, I just need to see what else is going on. But that still comes from the same using it for lists versus using it as for project management, which I use it for both now.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I might talk about tomorrow, or definitely I know I'm talking about during the challenge, is exactly that. We're talking about content and content planning. Part of content and content creation is the project part. It's
Mhm.
the this is a workshop. Here's the steps for a workshop. This is a summit. Here's the steps for a summit. And I do, like you, we have templates. I've got
Mhm.
stuff saved so I don't have to rethink what those steps are. I've got a repurposing list that was in one of the boards that I shared yesterday. But then we've also got the lists that are for all of those ideas, that inspiration,
Mhm.
who I'm following, who do I want to mention, who do I want to share, who I want to share a spotlight on, the blogs that I'm constantly reading and recommending to other people, podcasts that I might want to check out. Um, I know people who keep their reading lists, inside of Trello. It's like, here's the books I've read and would recommend. Here's all the things that I want to read. And that's why you might have a personal board for that
Mhm.
sort of stuff too, not just for business. Yep. So Jody's saying, yeah, you share the bloggers and the sites that you follow,
Mhm.
and then you might want to recommend in an email or a
Mhm.
blog post that's curated content, folks. You want to do that? Yes. So, Erica, I appreciate it. You've given me lots of information and lots of great
Yeah.
tips. And I hope that for those who came in late, that you make sure the link for Moms on the Grow, that you check that out. You check out Erica. What have you got coming up? What projects are you working on? I know that the summit was so big for you in the fall, but what's on the plate for Moms on the Grow?
Oh, what we're doing, what's on for February is working on a finding your purpose. So
Ooh,
I'm working on a find your purpose workshop and work book that should be out hopefully by the end of this month. So we will be springing into spring with finding our purpose for the spring. Is what the goal will be. So I'm excited about that.
excellent. And I hope you come back and I share that with everybody when you've got it ready to
Mhm.
go.
Mhm.
You should all check that out. Excellent. So, anybody else who, if you've got questions about the challenge, put them in the chat. If you're watching this on replay later, put them in. If you definitely want in and you're not already in the challenge, put that in the chat comments so that I can send you a coupon. Um, and looking forward to those who are joining me who are already signed up for starting next week. I really appreciate all of the great tips that Erica showed. And I'm going to stay focused and I am not going to explore new shiny objects until after February. And Erica will
Stay
hold me on that. Okay,
focused.
she's keeping me focused. I got so Fran, momsonthegrow.com. It should be up at the top of the chat, and I'll make sure that I put it in again. But that's where you want to check out Erica is momsonthegrow.com. And when she has her workshop and workbook ready, she will come and share it in the Mighty Marketing Mojo group.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer.
So thank you, Erica. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for Fran and for Jody and everybody who's been watching. And I hope that I get to see you again tomorrow, Friday, 3:30. We're talking about a little bit more, and I will show you inside that changing board, my content library board, as we wrap up content planning week and to get ready for the Kick Your Biz and Gear Trello challenge starting on Monday. So
Thanks for having me and good luck in your challenge.
thank you,
All
thank you, thank
right.
you, thank you. All right, everybody, have a great rest of
All
your
right.
day.
Bye bye.